Previous videos on this, I recommend traders checking it out. But what I'm looking for, I'm just going to start over here. So this was from October of last year. We see a structural high, then a structural low. So I've chosen to start here only because the swing points are very clear to see. So we have a structural high, structural low, and then we have a structural high. Now, what's interesting about this, and I'm just going to break down how I think structure is quite simple to understand, but only if you apply it correctly. Now, when you look at market structure, what you want to look for is you have a dealing range high and you have a low down here. Now, the only time that this low becomes valid is when it breaks the previous high. And so what I often say to traders is you just want to draw an arrow like this. Now, it's a simple concept, but drawing an arrow gives you clarity on where the lows and highs actually are. So now if we continue the cycle, what we can see here is we have structural high, structural low, structural high. And now from here, this is our low. Now, the reason this is a low is because it went on to eventually break the previous high. And so I would then recommend everyone just draw an arrow over here. Now, this here is it's not the biggest break, but actually no. This is not going to be a breaker structure, right? So if you this here wouldn't be classed as a breaker structure. This is a wick break. So this would be the breaker structure, right? So just to make that clear, a breaker structure on the higher time frame, such as a 4 hour or the 1 hour, you want to see a body break, right? Essentially. So what you're seeing is this is the previous high, right? This is a wick sweep, so that's not a breaker structure. This is the breaker structure. And so you want to take that into account when you're looking at your market structure. So again, on the 4 hour time frame, just to go over the market structure again, this is the low that was responsible for breaking this previous high, and so this then becomes the high. I hope that makes sense. So market structure is one of the simpler concepts or simplest concepts if you can understand how to use it. So now on the 4 hour, when we go to the most recent market structure, especially in the news and everything that's going on with Donald Trump, this is your high, this is your low, and then this is your high. And so again, we're going to use the arrow approach. We're going to use that simple arrow approach, right? So this is a structural high. Now, I wouldn't bother marking. I think this is all internal structure. You can if you want, but it gets a bit messy. Structural high, structural low,